Welcome back. You're watching Morning Express. Good morning from wherever you're watching us from. Welcome to the broadcast in case you're just joining us. We were continuing taking a look at some of the top stories that are making headlines in today's dailies. Key among them is the issue on taxes. On page 5 of the Standard, tax review pushes up prices of basic items, and there's a ripple effect in other sectors expected as well. All this to do with the rising cost of living. Let's take a look at this story where Kenyans from all walks of life are feeling the pinch as both electricity and fuel prices register significant increases, causing ripple effects in transport, manufacturing and other businesses. Kevin Ogutu gives us the Mwananchi perspective, since it is evident that the prices will not be coming down anytime soon.
It is no doubt a difficult time to be a Kenyan. For millions of Kenyans, the increase in petroleum fuel announced last week and electricity bills as well mean more than just the figures.
From here to Kisii, where we now get our stock, the fare has now doubled. For example, some few weeks ago, from here to Kisii, it was 400. As we speak, they charge 600, excluding what we call the luggage fee.
Kenyans are desperate, and the increase in fuel affects every field and transport and such kind of a thing. And due to the effect of corona, you see people cry. People are not able.
Unapata wameongeza fuel na msara hawajaongeza. Sasa unapata hiyo inatuumiza sana. Juu wakiongeza kila kitu bei yake inaenda juu, lakini msara is remain the same. Hapo ndio tunalilia sana. Kwa kibarua, ukienda kwa kibarua kama ulikuwa unalipa 1000, it's still 1000 that they pay you, but the fuel has gone up, so it's a bit challenging.
According to data by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, the amount of thermal power consumed by Kenyans over the first half of this year increased to 503 million units, a 58% growth from 307 million units used over a similar period in 2020. And now, the high fuel and electricity prices are rekindling debate on taxing energy in the country. The government takes 43.65%, that is 58.1 shillings of the super petrol retail price. This at a time curfew is still in place, meaning shrunk production hours.
And this COVID, you know how the police is also chasing us up and down, anything small, you have to pay for it. It is so taxing. Curfew hours still remains the same, and the increase of fuel also has affected us so much.
It is no different for electricity, where out of the 25 shillings that a domestic consumer will pay for a unit of electricity in September, about 9.2 shillings or 36.8% will go towards taxes and levies. Kevin Ogutu, KTN News.
So that's the reality on the ground. Almost 50% of what you pay for fuel goes to taxes. And intentionally, Parliament, with its role of oversight and lawmaking, can actually do something about this. But we've seen politicians quite vocal on political stages, castigating the government of the day for such a historical shift in prices. So, Didmas, for obvious reasons, the ball will fall on your court fast. Politicians quite vocal about this fuel increase, and we understand why, but action-wise, they're not quite concerned. Going to the finance bill, which was passed, going to the VAT bill, I think back in 2018, why are we not seeing what they're saying?
Before I come to that, let me comment something on One Kenya Alliance. I want Kenyans to understand today that One Kenya Alliance will never hold together. One Kenya Alliance is going to disintegrate, and a minimum of 2 principles of One Kenya Alliance are going to find their way working with us in UDA. I say so because One Kenya Alliance doesn't have an ideology, and what could have put them together was availability of positions to share if BBI was allowed to see light of day. But with the BBI dead, position of Prime Minister dead, not unavailable, and his 2 deputies not available, One Kenya Alliance have got nothing to share on the table because the only thing that put them together was availability of positions to share. Coming to these fuel issues, You remember in 2018, when the controversial finance bill that increased the tax on fuel to about 18% came on the floor of the House. Of course, it was passed by the previous parliament, by the 11th parliament. But when we came in with amendments to repeal that section, it's us, members of parliament, who are allied to the deputy president, by then branded as Tanga, that stood our grounds and said, we will not going to allow this. The NASA principals, led by Raila Amolo Odinga, whipped their members of parliament to support that amendment. Up to today, we believe that for us who had voice of reason, who were in Tanga by that time, our victory as naysayers, we were robbed of our victory as naysayers. We believed that we carried the day, but the speaker at that time ruled otherwise. So this country is suffering because of the decision that was taken by the NASA principal to support that bill that resulted into the increase of taxation on fuel. The second thing, the immediate increase in fuel is not by any law, it's just by regulations. A regulation that will have been blocked by the Finance and Economic Planning Committee chaired by the Honorable Gladys Wanga. The increase has been announced when members of parliament, when we are on recess. Only committees are functioning. So we are resuming business tomorrow, and I tell you for a fact that because the fuel increase was not done because Parliament had approved a new law, but it was done by a regulation that was developed by EPRA, of course supported by cartels from Treasury. And the cartels from Treasury are led by the CS himself, Honorable Kuriatan. Tomorrow we are going to reverse that decision, and I want Kenyans to watch their national televisions, to see the debate in the National Assembly, and they should take a pen and paper to see those who will support so that they can provide the medicine for them in the next elections. Because EPRA acted on delegated authority by Parliament. EPRA ought to have sought concurrence from the Finance and Economic Planning Committee, but you know who is chairing the Economic Planning Committee? It's Honorable Gladys Wanga. They say they are now in government. So, contrary to what my good friend said about the Jubilee government, what is leading this country now is not the Jubilee government that the Kenyans elected, but it's a handshake government. The Jubilee government that the Kenyans elected was that Jubilee government where the president was the head of, was the president, his deputy was Honorable William Samoei Ruto, and the chairman of Budget and Appropriation Committee was Kimani Ichung'wah. The chairman of Finance and Economic Planning was Honorable Limo. Today, as we speak now, the committees that hold a pivotal role in shaping government policies are chaired by ODM.
Okay.
They are chaired by NASA members of parliament.
Okay.
So the government of the day, as we speak today, is not the Jubilee government. It's the handshake government.
Okay, let's not blame. I think it's a collective responsibility. So at the end of the day, the message is there might be reprieve for the households that are suffering. The parliamentarians have had the cry.
You know, in Parliament, Parliament is a house of democracy. It's a house of debate, where a position on a particular matter is determined by a way of taking a vote.
Okay.
Those who say yes will say yes, those who say no will say no. But we are in a precarious position where those who are given the responsibility by Kenyans as a minority party to actually form the opposition party, instead of them taking advantage of us who are from UDA, who have come out to say we are going to support things that will add value to the Kenyans, now they appear to have taken our position, and we appear to have taken their position.
Okay, okay.
Maybe allow me 1 minute.
Yeah, briefly.
One minute.
As you also pass your point.
Yeah. Because I think there's a big problem here. This increase of prices did not happen overnight. It is known by law. Every 14th day of the month, IPRA is going to announce price changes. It is known that this finance bill that was passed in the 11th Parliament was coming to effect into the 12th Parliament. Yeah? It is known. These are not magical issues. They just did not mushroom overnight. Now, this issue of kicking the can and having knee-jerk reaction, if truly you meant well for Kenyans, Mheshimiwa, and your icks, those who keep pointing fingers at Raila and ODM, at Wanga and everybody, you should have taken the initiative from the get-go and started talking and mobilizing your people to bring a motion to deal with this issue of taxation of fuel. You had that time. But now that it has imelepuka, you want to come and cry louder than all of us and say, no, tomorrow you will see us in action. We don't want to see you tomorrow. We wanted to see you before this thing happened. So that we know and we can make a clear dichotomy between those who are for us, ordinary Kenyans, and those who are not for us. But this thing of waiting, and then you come here with a very nice speech. Oh, it is this handshake government. Oh, it is this people. You always want to apportion blame to every other person rather than taking personal responsibility for sleeping on the job. You MPs have let down Kenyans. You passed this thing. You have allowed it to to grow within our space. In July of this month, when the fuel price was increased to get to 101 shillings, everybody knew, come August 15th, or actually from June, come July 15th, the price will shift to 108. MPs kept quiet. Everybody knew. One, on account of the shilling devaluation against the dollar, and two, increasing oil prices outside there. MPs never talked about it. IPRA decided not to increase. They kept quiet. They freezed. Come July, come June, again, there was supposed to be another increment from 108 shillings to 115 shillings. All right. IPRA took a freeze on it because Kenyans on Twitter, on their own motion, people on Twitter were coming out and saying, no, do not increase, do not increase. This is the third month where the increment was supposed to happen, and because Kenyans kept quiet, and then it happened. It got to 135. Then now you come here and pontificate on us on who to blame. Kenyans are not interested on who to blame. Kenyans are interested in solutions that should have happened in April of last year. You are a big
I want to agree with him.
I
want to agree with him that Parliament has let down Kenyans.
Yes.
And the Kenyans should appreciate that the decision that the Parliament takes is on the basis of a vote of the majority. You have seen here, I am a member of Parliament elected on the Jubilee Party. You have seen here, when I go against government plans and government policies that are punishing Kenyans, the Jubilee Party disciplines me.
But you're not on record.
Let me finish.
Are you on record of having gone against the fuel?
Let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish.
Because if you are not on record, don't cry wolf.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish.
It's not fair.
Let me
finish.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me finish, my friend. You have listened. You have given you a time. You have listened to me.
Okay.
Right. Today, I don't serve on the committees that I used to serve because of taking a different position that was perceived to be not the government position.
Okay.
You get my point? You've seen David Murade come on this show saying we are going to whip those members of parliament who never supported A, B, C, and D, and that they are supported by their handshake members of parliament. For some of us, why were the people like Susan Kika and Kibitu Amurugo be whipped from those positions?
Okay.
They were whipped in those positions on the basis that they were not supporting government positions.
All right.
And I want to agree with you that this parliament
I think we're in agreement
down on this particular matter because of very many complex issues.
All right. Parliament has let Kenyans down in one way or the other. But this is the link between leadership and the state of the economy in the country, and politicians as well.
Now,
so, Prof, add your voice to this. Where do you sit on the fence?
I think as much as my brother Kyoko is exonerating apportioning of blame, I think the government, part of the wing from which my brother Dismal Council should take responsibility for sleeping on the job. Least of all, the parliamentarians. When that bill was passed, his principle was not only in the government, he was number 2 in the government. So he could have whipped the other people for voting against it.
But it's a game of numbers.
It's a game of numbers, I agree. But he could have whipped, which they always do, even in the toilet. Sorry. Now, you didn't hear that. The point I really want to drive home here is this. He should not blame NASA for that. I know that for sure, Honorable Musalia is on record. When he was at a funeral of the former PS Godia, the day after this had been passed, and he said very categorically that he was opposed to this increase.
But
and he called,
whip?
And he had. So I want to disabuse the notion that it's NASA who supported it. The people who supported it within NASA are well known, and they are on your clip which I watched just 2 days ago.
Okay.
And
he members of parliament.
Yeah, those are your words.
Okay.
So the point here is that people should take responsibility of the faults and the evils they commit to the Kenya government. I think OCA offers hope. And unlike what my brother here would like to believe, OCA, to people who love peace in this country, are saying, you have these two horses here who are antagonists. Let us go the middle road and have a peaceable alternative. Okay. And that's what OCA offers.
Away from OCA, let's talk fuel. So at the end of the day, Wakili, add your voice to this matter. Well, what's the reprieve for Kenyans, the households that are feeling this pinch? Apart from the blame game, what's the way forward according to you?
Thank you. I think the place where the rubber meets the road is that it is Parliament that approves a budget.
Yeah.
And when they read and approved a budget in June, it was based on specific programs and specific funding. And it was therefore foreseeable that the fuel prices and the taxation levels on fuel at that time was going to be sustained at that level. And this is where really the problem with Parliament comes in. What is it that has changed, that has necessitated government deficit in funding to compel government to come with these hasty changes in fuel prices? And as my friend Didmas pontificates to Kenyans on TV, might it be because of them who are in Jubilee government are not working for Jubilee government, in fact are sabotaging Jubilee government, so that we have a sudden bigger burden of taxes to pay for people who are supposed to be in government, yet not in government? And isn't it therefore then moral that if he can quite loudly on national TV say he is in UDA, how can he say that when he is still in Jubilee? How can his principal in UDA be telling people now he has gone bottom up when he is still the deputy president and Kenyans are being again overtaxed? I think this doublespeak or pretension is what Kenyans need to stop countenancing, because you cannot come and tell us the deputy president of Jubilee, the elected member for Kimilili of Jubilee, is now telling us continue paying taxes. The problem is others, not us in Jubilee. As now we are, for that purpose, we are now in UDA. We cannot take that. The most important thing is Treasury needs to be sensitive that this Kenyan economy cannot take any more increase in fuel prices. And at the risk of Kenyans starting protesting or breaking their backs, it is very important that even these parliamentarians consider salary cuts, cuts in certain expenditures that are not necessary, so that at least for the 9 years until we get the 9 months until we get the next government, Kenyans should not be further oppressed with further taxes. But as it stands today, Parliament must bite the bullet collectively for letting down Kenyans. You cannot tell us that it is a committee that has caused this. A committee is a committee of Parliament, and the entire Parliament takes responsibility for decisions of House committees.
Speaking of Parliament, Didmas, as we finalize, so much focus on the debt ceiling right now, and there's been conversation on perhaps raising it again. Will we see certain scenes that we saw earlier on while raising the debt ceiling? Because I'm looking at the back page, Kenya's debt mountain rises as Treasury borrows 3.3 billion shillings per day in this new financial year.
I think I want to be very frank on this. Jubilee Party, we've never had any parliamentary group meetings where we could discuss the policies that will come on the floor of the House. And when it became apparent that for some of us who are driven by the desire to see a fair Kenya, to lower the cost of living in this country, we were opposed to some of the government decisions, some of the government proposed bills or regulations that were brought on the floor of the House, because we felt that we've not had enough time to discuss them and realign them with the need to see them lowering the cost of living for Kenyans. And I believed that the reason as to why Uhuru Kenyatta looked for his brother Raila Odinga to engage in a handshake was to boost the numbers, to support those oppressive decisions by government on the floor of the House. They began by removing like-minded fellows from chairing key government, key parliamentary committees and the positions that will influence policy and put their puppets that can be manipulated. And that is where the rain began beating us as a country. Even as we are opposed to those kind of raising the debt ceilings, if they come now, we have tried to oppose them on the floor of the House vehemently. Our act of opposing those decisions saw us being whipped, being disciplined instead of being rewarded by the same Jubilee party that we serve. And it is a very pity situation. That's why, as a country, we are saying we cannot afford to postpone the date of elections. The date of elections must be held next year so that Kenyans can get an opportunity to renew those who are going to represent them from the MCS to the president.
All right. As much as you respond, he has a point, even as we criminalize the fact that he's in Jubilee and UDA, they have been targeted and there's a narrative out there. So it's a precarious situation we find ourselves in.
No, it's just muddling of water. It's just muddling of water. Let's not, let us not hide in the collective and say we. Today, we are asking parliamentarians. I will ask my MP of Kaiti, what did you do about this issue? Today, I have a forum to sit here with an MP next to me. I will ask him at an individual level, what did you do? Do not tell me you were scared that you'll be whipped or you will be. This is what Kenyans are listening keenly to. So that you tell them, I did this, or I so-and-so did this with regard to this matter. But be that as it may, I understand the intricacies of being an MP and the need to survive. I understand that. Secondly, this constant reminder of the politics of the day. This is an economic discussion. You cannot today say you believe in bottom-up, you want to empower young people. When you look at today's standard, I think in page 3 or 4, there's a young man who 4 or 5 years ago sold bulls or sold cattle to the president. And you can see his story that at one point he was producing 1,000 liters a day. It looked like a success story. Today he's saying he cannot. He's going to move out of that business. That is into pig farming. That's a young man who, because of the bad economic policy decisions that were made in the period of 2013 to 2017, first, because the debts that were incurred then are being repaid now. The debt ceiling that is being increased today that we are suffering is to accommodate more international borrowing. That's simple economics. 2 years ago, the debt ceiling was moved from 7 million to 9 million. The same parliamentarians and the same parliament that did Marseille never rose up to speak. Today, they are going to move it again from 9 to 12, so that you can accommodate excess borrowing in order to pay debt. That is a big problem. Now, this matter of fuel, in truthfulness,
as we finalize,
this matter of fuel, beyond politics, and we'd ask everybody to drop their hats. Like when we started this, must say, when he goes to church, he is a leader. And then they are politicians. In this one, I'd like him to wear that leadership hat and address Kenya and reassure them that we as parliament, me as a person, as a parliamentarian, this is what I am willing to speak about. These are the things that we are going to do about. And remember, the moment you remove this 16% VAT on fuel, you create a hole.
That needs to be filled.
That needs to be filled. How is it going to be filled? Is it increased taxation in other areas? So that let's not just talk mere rhetorics without following it up with action. The former Deputy Prime Minister, Musalia Mudavadi, has been very strong on tangible economic conversation. Not mere rhetorics, but tangible economic conversation. He is the one person I would think, given an opportunity, can spearhead and shepherd the Kenyan economy in this malaise that we are in right now. This empty rhetorics from our parliamentarians is not adding value. This finger pointing of saying, oh, Gladys Wanga is the chair, therefore we should blame ODM.
Okay.
Those ones, let's leave it. Let us talk about Kenya.
Right.
Let us deal, because the economic consequences of a litre at 135, Mheshimiwa, you might not notice it, but for the young people down there who are running border borders, who are on Uber business, they are not breaking even. They are not breaking even. The price of bread is increasing. The price of tea is increasing. If we do not draw back a little bit and say, let's take a pause from our natural politics and discuss economy, and it is economy, stupid.
So we'll have to see who provides alternative legislation. Gentlemen,
Kenyans not go to bed pretty that the parliamentarians, when they meet tomorrow, they are going to have solutions to this problem. This problem requires a multi-pronged approach for it to be resolved. Because even Njoroge just said about 2-3 days ago that they could not keep up the repayment of the debt that Kyoko is just referring to. So where else are they going to get funds from?
And by the way, it's not
we should just reduce parliamentarians.
I think you need to. When I'm talking about Didmas here, it's because you are here. It's not.
I know. Shortly, 30 seconds. We really need to conclude.
My friend is a political analyst.
Yes.
He analyzes politics on the basis of what he reads on the newspapers, a comparison of jurisdiction, what's happening. I am a practicing politician, a sitting member of parliament. I understand the process that IPRA will use to gazette those English fuel prices. I know that when parliament is on recess, the committee takes the center stage, and I can tell you for free that the problem for the cost of the price increase in fuel is ODM party.
All right. Okay, away from the politics and all that, at the end of the day, so much focus on Parliament in terms of the legislation they will pass in order to reprieve the suffering of these households and the manufacturing sector as well. Gentlemen, many thanks for your time. I think it was a fruitful discussion. Nothing personal, it's all business. Okay, Didmas Baraza Kimilili, Member of Parliament, thank you so much for your time. We were equally joined by Professor David Kikaya, who's a governance expert, lawyer and advocate Steve Mogaka, and Joseph Kyoko, political analyst.
A congratulations message to Onyala. The young man, Onyala, we need to clap for Onyala. We need to, that guy is good.
Let's take a short break on that particular note. When we come back, we'll be talking about this. Tomorrow marks the 8th anniversary since the 21st of September 2013, that heinous terror attack at the Westgate Mall, where at least 67 people were brutally killed. However, as we prepare to remember this unfortunate event, Kenya's resilience and solidarity to terrorism is a global success story. In line with remaining resilient, the media has taken a bold role in reporting responsibly on matters terrorism and violent extremism, especially this close to the general election. We'll be joined by Victor Bwire, who's the program manager at the Media Council of Kenya, on how the media has participated on the war against terror. Stay with us.